Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aegis Esports EMEA League of Legends of Runeterra. I'm Zero, and I'm here with Enyamor. Even it's a bit dark there, isn't it? Hello, Enyamor. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Don't know what's up with my camera right now. Um, but yeah, no, I'm doing pretty well. I'm ready for the games, and we've got some really good sets going on.
And this is the first day of this league of Legends of Runeterra, and we have seen yesterday some action in the AM shard, but today we are here in EMEA, and it's very exciting because last league was only for America, while from this one we are also starting this European season, and we are gonna see many players that we didn't have the occasion to see in the last iteration of the league, and also many teams that weren't there. So it's gonna be very exciting. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think EMEA probably has the most elite of the elite. We have people like Spakes, we have people like Sergi, we have Sorry, Salty Simon. We have so many good players, and honestly, I would rather play in Americas because this is how stacked EMEA is. So
Yeah, and that's really big coming from you because you're one of the best players of America Shard. Like you rank one multiple times over one KLP. So you're very good players. You're a very good player in my opinion. And if you say so, I mean that means a lot for my region because I personally am from Europe. So I'm very very excited to see what the players brought today, and I cannot wait to jump into the first game.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched. And our first game is, man, my cam's like off. I don't know what's going on.
Don't worry,
Our
don't
first
worry
game
about it.
is ANC. Do you wanna start this one off, Zero?
Yes, this deck, as you can see, powered from Runeterra AR, and we thank them for sponsoring us and for letting us have the overlays and show you the decks. This deck, Zoe Aphelios by brought to you by Okabi Ace. Okabi Ace is a friend of mine, and this deck suits perfectly for his playstyle because he's a control player. He likes to have value, to play for value. He likes to have many, many answers for everything that the enemy can do, and likes to play reactive. And this deck is perfect for him because it has many ways to remove the board from the opponent because it plays PNZ, so as thermo beams, mystic shots, get excited, and also goes very very high with value because it has star shapings and many ways to invoke cards. And also Vi can act as a removal because of course can have very very high attack numbers. With Challenger, you remove basically any threat from the opponent's board. Also, this deck is very polarizing matchups on ladder. Like if it wins some matchups, it wins them very very hard, but can have pretty rough matchups. For example, with Sandisk or Tribim, of course, Noxus PNZ, which we will see later. What do you think about it?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm very fond of the Vi version. You know, we saw a lot of people play Victor, but then they just realized there's no impactful turns early on. So the synergy with Vi and Aphelios allows you to kind of, you know, not only stabilize the mid game, but have an alternate win con to kind of finish, you know, finish the game is with something like Victor. You know, you're really high rolling that potential in it. It's more a longer process to try and win the game. So I think you know, this version is definitely the best to be on, and free star shaping is such a good control tool and aggro tool. I think we might see a lot of dubs with this today.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Also, as you mentioned, Vi, pretty good at stabilizing boards because it's a 5 cost with tough, which is very, very difficult to the opponents to deal with, at least in a mana efficient way, unless they have like another thermo beam or something like that. And also, like can block many times if you're like, for example, against an aggro deck, and also remove attackers from the opponent. So it's a very, very interesting deck, especially because it ten- it tends to win against many of Bundle City decks. And that's very interesting because Bundle City was basically the king region of the last meta, but now was a little bit toned down.
Yeah, and then for the LoR FR team, we have Rivage on Israel Cape, and this is powered by AHA, which is thankful for that because this prompt is actually really good, as I didn't look at it before. And we have a very standard list, you know, it's Caitlyn, Israel, Tribeam, and a lot of free obs. I'm looking at this right now, and I only see two obs, and that's Thermobeam and Captain Farron, which isn't bad, but you know, it means that it's trying to just do something very standard and not really have any other matchups. A very polarized type of deck to be in a lineup.
Yeah, especially because this deck, as you mentioned, has very polarizing matchups, and also is the reactive deck in Legends of Runeterra. Like it's much more it's much alike Draven Ezreal, because you are waiting for the opponent to make the first move, and then you are removing what the opponents bring to the table. So very interesting to see how it's gonna go because I don't know what this deck is gonna face, but it's gonna be very very interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And it'll be good to see how they play it as well. You know, a lot of people actually play this such like a control deck that it's somewhat the incorrect thing to do because you really want to set up tempo swings where you can kind of fork them in a way where you're removing their units and pushing for lethal. So if we see that out of Rivage, I think we're gonna see a lot of good gameplay.
Yeah, especially because, as you mentioned, tempo plays are the core of this deck, especially the huge tempo play that you can get out of Tree Beam. You're removing a very big unit from the opponents, and you're putting yourself, for example, a 6-cost unit for free at that point. And that's where the games start to go in your favor. That's where you have to take advantage of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And then you have the Farron as well. You know, Farron's just such a good card to go on that control game plan. Because, like, if you can't find those tempo swings, you've just got this person that's like, yo, I'm making 2 decimates. You also have to deal with an 8/8. So, not only is it good against control matchups, but it can just close down aggro matchups if they've
Yeah,
gone slightly too ahead.
yeah, absolutely correct. Also, we have some answers to Bundle City Swarms in our Spiders, and we have a lot of cheap removals. Also, this patch, Caitlyn was buffed. Her mechanic, flash bombs, were buffed. So very interesting to see also how the Caitlyn buff will impact the meta. Because when things as Piltover Pacemaker are played, also Caitlyn every single strike she's putting more and more flash bombs in the deck. That also helps against aggro matchups and also against Bundle City.
Yeah, there's just a lot of tools on this, and we've seen a resurgence, and I'm like happy and sad to see it because you don't want to see the same deck over and over again. But if it works, it's a very good toolbox to have.
Also, this deck is fairly skilled. I mean, you have to know how to play the game to play it perfectly, and even then, many plays are not obvious. So there is kind of a high ceiling that not many players can access with this deck, and it's very interesting always to see how between the very high skill level and like the middle of the pack skill level, how it can impact the outcome of the games.
Yeah, we did say that it's like good into BC, but I actually think it's quite the opposite, right? I think that's probably the biggest weakness for is Kate. You know, there was
Yeah.
like the Fae twist that was running around, and everyone was playing it because they're like, "Yo, we can beat this deck really easy. It's Demacia." But then they found out Bandle City is a region, and they just manifest cards.
Yeah, they have infinite value and you don't have enough removals for them. Uh, hopefully, hopefully this meta is not the same. Hopefully this meta is a bit better. But yeah, and that said, we're gonna go in a little bit of a break until we wait for the players to choose their opponents and to get into the game. So see you soon.
We
Hello again. We are back here, and we are waiting the last few minutes before getting into the game. There was some technical difficulties, but everything has been solved, so we are primed and ready to get into the game.
So we have OK. How do you say that? OKB Ace versus Swap Blue, and really control like lineups here today. Pretty
Mhm.
standard from Europe. They're very fan of control, and right now, I'll be honest, I don't know where the span is going to go.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, Okabe is, as I said, is a pretty much consolidated control players. Like he has always played control basically in every tournament he has ever played. Very good with all of those decks. So I'm confident that everything is gonna be banned. It's not gonna like make him falter or stun him in any way. On the other hand, Zwotblue brings a lineup with I think it's Sentinel Control, then Catherine
Yeah,
Ezreal, I mean, we have already talked about it, and Sivir Action. Sivir Action is basically the it was the Europe deck at the World Championship, if you remember about it. Everyone from Europe brought that deck, and of course, Alan won with it in the finals. So it was like the basically the signature deck from Europe, but it can suffer control decks because they have lots of removals, and especially for example FTR can damage your Sivir even if Sivir has spell shield because of ravines, and can remove the Sivir or freeze the Sivir in many ways. So I think that deck is gonna suffer. Also, as we mentioned, Catherine Ezreal can be good to end the stall of control decks with Faron, but on the other end, it doesn't run that many followers, so can be easily found out of value or out of followers to attack the opponent's board. And Sentinel Control, on the other end, is I think the most on par with the other controls just because it's a control as well. But with Jace, I don't really know how the matchup is gonna go.
yeah. So looking at this, I do think Ace is actually slightly favored, even though
Yep.
they've both pretty much brought control decks. Ace has brought these control decks that kind of feed on other ones. So Darkness is quite good into it is Kate, and then same with like FTR, they're pretty good into Sentinels. So depending on the ban, which is the FTR on you know Ace's side, it'll be interesting to see. Do you think Swap Blue's Civet Archdown is going to get banned? And it does.
Yep.
So yeah, makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. They understood each other. They understood the win conditions of the two lineups, and one banned FTR because it was very hard counter, and severe action always scary, always sketchy. Can always find lethals with those absolvers on a severe with spell shield and find some sneaky lethals, or be or have like a lot of card cycle and card draw if action landmarks get flipped. So yeah, and I think we're gonna open to the game soon. I mean, the players already banned opponent's deck, and they have 1 minute to decide what to play. So what do you think is gonna go first for Kabe?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, I usually let the dice roll whenever I play in a tournament. I just let it pick for myself.
Mhm.
But we could possibly see Darkness. I think Darkness is good into both of these. And then you just kind of have Aphelios Vi to do the cleanup work afterwards.
Yeah, seem like a reasonable strat. Let's see if Okabe has actually opted into taking it. I mean, I know for sure, like Okabe's Darkness deck is pretty strong. Like he knows how to play it pretty well. He played it in two Italian tournaments, one this week, and got into semifinals with it. So I'm pretty sure about his chances on it. While on the Aphelios Vi, I'm not really sold already. I think I don't really know how the Vi version works instead of just Zoya Aphelios, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think out of most of the Videx right now, it's slightly weaker. I do think Sentinel Control is better than the Aphelios version, only because you're a lot more aggressive. That Aphelios Videx, it's more of a pile. and this, can be such a detriment because there's so many angles of play you can do that you're not sure if I should be more aggressive, if I should control the board. So when you have one game plan like Sentinel's Control, it can be a lot nicer and a lot easier.
And you said it right. Okabe Ace opted to go first with his Darkness deck against the Sentinel Control from the side of SWAT Blue. And in the starting end, it's a little bit heavy on the side of both players. But SWAT Blue has like the better middle curve because it has the 3 drops into the potentially the Jace and just needs a 6+ cost spell to activate the Forge of Tomorrow. While on the other end, Okabe Ace, yeah, it has Veigar, it has Senna, but are very, very expensive units with 4 and 5 mana, respectively.
I mean, say a curve, and that's what Swap Blue has. Something you really want against Darkness because if they don't have their curve themselves, you're just going to steamroll. And we're probably going to see this Sentinel here, and we do. Setting up this Val Fest, we get the attack in with the Catalyzer. I wonder if Swap Blue actually decides to trade here.
I mean, it is possible, especially because uh, like we have to stop the catalyzer before it's too late. If we don't stop the catalyzer now, stacking over and over the darkness, like darkness is gonna become a problem. It's already at 3, so it can also trade the Boor Sentinel at the moment. We are gonna be able to Valfist uh, this little unit from instead of Okabe's, but on the other hand, Okabe can use his removals wisely and can start setting up his board with the Rob Maker now, because if he just plays Rob Maker, it's not tradable immediately, and he discounts darkness. So I think
Yeah.
no, Okabe's is in a better spot than it may seem.
I mean, yeah, and we didn't opt to play the Jace here. I'm really happy with this line, honestly. Because if we play the Jace here and be a bit too slow, threaten to kill a possible Veigar, if they don't have that Veigar, that means we lose so much potential to burn them out. And, well, right now, Swap Blue decides to not Val Feast before getting rewarded to play around that darkness and then
This is a lot of
pushing
damage.
10 damage. 10 damage. That's actually whopping.
Yep. And this is very, very concerning from the side of Okabe because, yes, it has some healing in the form of the Withering Whale, but on the other hand, the opponent's deck can have the Atrocity, can have, S2 Pharaohs, which are gonna be coming in clutch if in the late game we manage to stall the game. But on the other hand, like, just looking at the immediate problems, that 5-4, how are we stopping it?
How are we stopping a lot of this? I mean, we have the darkness, thankfully, but we're putting 2 darknesses in just for a 5-4, right? And now we can use that Jace to be more effective. But, OKAB Ace actually sees what to do here and plays and sets up for that whale, sorry.
Yep. This Veil is gonna be very, 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 very big. This Veil is gonna clean up everything on the board actually from the side of SWAT Blue. So no damage is gonna be pushed this turn, no matter what SWAT Blue does. So very, very good angle. Like Okabe saw the angle and went for it, and it's getting rewarded because basically now can just play potentially the Concologist and get one more spell, one more out, and then you have the 5 mana banked to play the Withering Whale. So nothing is really punishing you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really interested by that vial as well. We saw that setup there, and I don't know if Swap Blue realizes and gets punished with the other whale, and just honestly clears out the whole board, like you said.
Yep. And also now, Jace cannot even go and challenge, because if Jace challenges our unit, Jace gets traded. And all of a sudden, we are leading this game with a Senna on board. We can just potentially attack with the Senna, generate attack with the Senna, and just deal for damage. The opponent either blocks and gets his Pharaohs traded, or we just get to trade Jace at the end of the round. I don't think there is any punish potentially with attacking with Senna.
No, there's no punish at all. What I'm loving here is, that 2 Ferris in hand. I honestly think because of that, this game that looks like it was going to become like an Ace's favorite is still going to be pressured by Swap Blue.
Yep. we have our ways to remove the pharaohs. Of course, we have a lot of darkness. We have even the Dawning Shadows. But yeah, those pharaohs are 7 mana, and we are asking for the same amount of mana from Okabe to answer them. So we are gonna have always the first move, and we are gonna decide from Setos what blue how this game is gonna go.
Yeah,
Very very
and
interesting.
the initiative is what's really important here. You know, like being able to play double Pharaohs means we're going to be getting these attack procs off. So I think it's only dealing 1 damage though. But the main reason here is the quick attack, right? We're forcing down the board, so our game plan is a lot nicer to find that win later on.
Yeah, and we're forcing the wall up. I mean, I know that there are not many other spots to play Wallop in this matchup, so this is a very, very good Wallop from Okabe. But on the other end, it's one resource that you're pulling out from your opponent. And one by one, those damages, those pings from Pharaohs are gonna stack one on the other, and at the end, we are gonna be the ones victorious, basically, if there's what to do. I mean, we also see we have more Jace, and if one Jace comes in, then we can opt into playing the Shock Blast onto the Nexus and deal 3 damage phase. So that's
Oh,
very, very strong.
that atrocity is a great pickup. You know, we're talking about maybe not getting there, but Aether just says goodbye to any control tools and makes them actually stop in their tracks to think about, hey, if I'm going to kill this unit, am I dying to Aether? And that's something really scary to think about.
One thing I'm thinking about though is Veigar leveled? Because I think Veigar is very, very close to level up at the moment, if it's not already. And in
Yes,
fact, it is 13 out of 12 for Veigar, and leveling up now, giving us basically infinite control tools. You mentioned we are out of control tools. Veigar says no, we are never gonna be out of control tools. Every single turn, darkness is gonna ramp up by 1, and we're gonna have a free 1 in hand. So, not very good from Zwotlu here. Like
yeah,
Zwotlu is gonna be in a dire situation after a few couple of turns if he can't close it out quickly.
I kind of bit the bullet before I should, and you know, we're gonna just see Ace basically control the board and basically put him in a checkmate position, right? Because like that counterplay is literally only the H row. You can't really do anything crazy with the shock blast because Jace isn't leveled, and basically leveling up the center means you're free to roam. You're here to survive and also push for that lethal.
Yeah, and even if the opponent plays Atro, we have a Ruination that can be done at fast speed. We have a Dawning Shadow that can be casted. So I mean, not the greatest spot to be in.
We have nothing but efficiency. I mean, like, we could do anything here. We could, you know, go to the toilet and come back and be fine. We could even block here and take the damage maybe if we wanted to troll. But I think being the optimal player as aces, we're gonna go for the lethal now.
Yeah, Downing Shadows played on the Pharaohs to devoid any kind of damage dealt either by the Pharaohs or the Elise, because Elise is gonna be debuffed of -2 attack, and I mean, this is spelling like almost like game over, because okay, we could have the atrocity, but instead, for instance, what we decided to kill the Senna immediately. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it, but
Yeah,
we
like
have
it's not
this
the answer
mystical in
we were
hand.
looking for. Like, okay, you're killing the Senna, but it's not the clear answer that we were looking for. This is just a consequence. This is okay, we're dealing 1 more damage because you used Vengeance, which is a 6+ cost spell. So it activates the Pharaohs. But then again, we have a miscall. So here comes the Senna again, and I think this is GG.
Yeah, I think so. On Swap Blue's end, I think they were trying to go for the HRO line, right? And they realized that they had to get center out to have the best chance for the win. But sadly, that's not going to be the case. I think, this miscall is literally a monster reborn of some sorts. And, we just shoot face air and we attack. And, it's not completely over, but it should soon be.
I mean, it's not completely over like on paper, but even Zwotblue knows that with darkness you cannot go too late into the game, or you just get run down, and it's just FF.
Yeah,
Forfeit
yeah.
for this
Just
game
hit
and
F.
go to the next.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good set. Good set. When you get the Exodia pieces of Veigar Sinner, you know the deck that it's built around. It's pretty nuts, pretty insane. Yeah.
I mean, as you mentioned, this is Exodia. Leveled up Senna, leveled up Veigar. Everything gets buffed for 1 more damage every single round. If you attack, you create more and more darknesses. I don't think there is a way out of there. I mean, that deck, once you get that far ahead into the game, it's just GG. You have to close the game before that point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, yeah, I've seen too many of those, and I'm like, yeah, nah, I'd rather FF. So
And so we're into game 2 now. So Okabe is gonna have to win with his Aphelios buy decklist against, again, this Sentinel control. I mean, as we mentioned, this matchup is not the greatest, but we have 2 chances to win if we are Okabe ace.
I don't.
yeah, we do have two chances. It's just gonna be a little like control, and each player is just gonna try and control and do well. You know, like there's not really much else to it. Trying to find tempo swings as well as another way that you can try and win.
Yeah, we're just gonna use the discard fodder, discard value from the spell generated every single turn, the ignition generated by the ballistic bolt each turn. And yeah, this is basically the way of Targon, right? The way of value. And I know, because I always scream with him, that Okabe is a very big fan of Targon, very, very big fan of value. And I'm very excited to see if he can actually pull it off. Because as we mentioned, Targon can be kind of like Bundle City when you start with double Spacey Catcher. You get so much more cards in hand that you should. You get so much more units, so many more units. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to see, because this looks like a very good start from Okabe.
It's a lot better than on average, right? We have these powers to play around all that removal. We have the 4-1, which is not bad against the Sentinels, right? Because like a good way that the Sentinels control works is basically pushing damage, literally in the name. So having all these fearsome blockers is just a big plus.
Yep. And now we can go and take the value block, actually. We can trade down both the Elise and the Forger, which is great, and there is nothing the opponent, like the opponent, Zwatulu was forced to to do this, because as you mentioned, he is the beatdown. He cannot allow for Targon to get into the extremely late game value scenarios when Targon can pull off, for example, the Great Beyond or the Phoenix and get like 10, 11 damage strikes with Celestial units. So it's on Zwatulu to be the aggressive, to be the aggressor, and to be the aggressive one.
Beatdown. I think that's the word, right? The most common phrase, the beatdown, and that's 100%, and that's what Sentinel does. It finds a perfect balance of the beatdown, and against decks like this, we do really need to play around that star shaping.
Maybe though, we're gonna go for value against value. No, okay.
We talk about G. I think that's more of a tempo loss than we just lose. But I mean, at the same time, I think it's cute, and there is a chance to get something there. But with that hand, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I was thinking, okay, maybe we go GE. We give up a turn, and then everything is gonna be much stronger. Everything is gonna be one cost discounted. But yeah, Zwatulu went for the safe play, went for the lifesteal, and at the same time removal spell. So yeah, but boring on one end, then you understand, because you are in a tournament, you want to win on the other.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like we're talking about, Swap Blue being the beatdown. We just kind of for that G. Well, it's not like glorious shelf oak or anything that you can make that combo turn.
Yeah, I was thinking about yes, value. I'm the beatdown. Maybe if I get more value, I can avoid being too far behind in late game. But yeah, in the end, you're still drawing two liter. You're still generating 2 liter cards at the moment to get much more value from the GM.
I mean, there is a line though, and it's going for Atro.
Yep.
You like keep your spiraling up, right? You just play 20 cards. Now you have a 21 Atro target.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But yeah,
Not that
here,
it's conceivable.
here it comes the first star shaping, and we see the Great Beyond. We see the Phoenix. Yeah.
Wow. And Great Beyond is exactly what you want. And but
I
the
mean, here
loop is
it was
just
for the
waiting
Phoenix.
there.
No. Aloof
Yeah,
travelers.
we didn't recognize it. The loop just went, nah, bro. Yeah, I'm waiting for that star shaping, and it gets punished.
Yeah, I mean, he plays 3-star shapings. He also has lots of other ways to invoke. He plays, for example, the Solari Priestess. And from there, you can go basically into a traveler invoke, and then you go and look around for more answers. So there are still many ways for Kabe to win the late game. But on the other hand, Zwot Blue just wrote a Progress Day. Progress Day can be a very, very big injection of value into the late game for his deck, especially because, yeah, when you are like low on cards, you can just draw 3 and discount them by 1. That's great.
Yeah, and we're talking about this Aphelios Videck, and when you don't have the engines, it feels a lot flimsy. And
Yep.
Zero, we're looking at the hand right now, and even if that star shaping is drawn, I'm comparing the two, and I'm like, bro, Swap Blue is comparably better in the late game at this moment.
Yep. Especially since when you play this star shaping, then the first thing Zwot Blue is gonna go for is for the other Aloof Traveler. So anything that gets pulled out of the star shaping is gonna be discarded.
I help when I can.
Yeah.
And
These sandbagged Aloofs are just going to be cash money. I think we just make the board more simple, get these trades out, and start, setting up other units.
You cannot hold us down.
yeah, for example, this Vi. I mean, Vi at this moment can be a win condition. I mean, we know that instead of Zwot Blue there is the Vengeance, but Vengeance is a commitment. So we might be able to trade some units with Vi before it gets killed, before it gets killed off by the Vengeance. So pretty interesting there. It's a line that Okabe can commit to.
Yeah. Sadly, though, dropping Vi this late is just so bad, right? Because of that Vengeance. You really want it early because that just incentivizes really awkward game plans and really awkward play rounds. But at the moment, Swap Blue is looking pretty good. I'm ready to see Albus Ferros played for the third time for this set. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, because you almost never saw Albus. I remember him played in some, I think, Broken Bull list with Lux and Jace when Jace first came out. If I'm not mistaken, it was Broken Bull playing it.
Yeah, and Dave Bro also runs it as a tech card, the profound Jace Lux player. So it does have a lot of, potential to see play.
Yeah. And here comes the Vengeance. Like we mentioned it multiple times. It was drawn out. At the same time, though, Vengeance is a 6+ cost spell, so this Ferros is getting more and more value from these very big spells used now.
Yeah. But I think we understand that pass, right? Because Swap Blue is really understanding about this aloof. And it also just gives us initiative here, which is also very powerful.
Wait, if we were Okabe, like we could just take some damage, then potentially invoke, and we're not gonna be afraid of the traveler, of the Aloof Traveler anymore, because we're gonna have priority next round. So I think the way is to play now, right now, the Star Shaping.
What's our thermo at after this? Oh, it's at 7, sadly. But yeah, it's like you're not really playing around that aloof anyway, and they're tapped out. So this is really good for Ace.
I don't know. Would you thermo here the Pharaohs immediately?
100%, I think so. But Ace disagrees with me, but I think it's important because like this Ferros is really important. I know that Jace is also annoying, but I think we'll have to like try and get a cheeky hush out of Jace. That's kind of my thought process to it because we can't kill Jace this turn, and that's really, really horrible if they just go wide into Jace's accelerator.
Yep, and we don't have any more heals because we used two last turn. We are at 17 HP. So okay, on one end we are kind of safe because 17 is a very high number of HP. On the other hand, I mean, it gets more and more dicey as the game goes on because what blue can go very wide this turn, can also play the aloof potentially. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're not in a very good spot. We
No,
can tempo one
honestly, I'm
wave.
gonna call it. I think I'm gonna call it 0. I think this is actually over for Ace.
Yep.
Like, this accelerator is just gonna be too much. Even if they play, an extra unit, you're going 3 wide here. We can still play units as well. So this is like putting Ace to the limit. And if we hyrule, we're gonna definitely get the squeeze of a win here.
Yeah, because we can get rid of one. We can also, as you mentioned, we can get rid of one unit. We can silence another one, but all the other units are gonna hit the board.
Yeah. Yeah. Scout. Scout is kind of nuts because that means we can trade and we see Shock Blast. Shock Blast is good for damage, but in this situation, what you're doing is just minimizing the board. And we're probably gonna see this and push a lot of damage. But Swaplu says no. I don't really want to play like that. I'm gonna take this for granted and hope you don't have anything else.
We will resist.
Look at that number on the Nexus, 31 damage at the moment. We have to diminish that as much as we can, but it's very difficult. This is
Yeah,
24 damage. Can we actually survive? I don't think so at this point. I mean, we can put it down to 19. Okay, yeah, we can. 19
we
and then
can.
yeah. But do we survive?
But so I think Swaplu misplayed horribly there. I'll be honest. I don't know if they just have dyslexia like me and couldn't read the scout, but I think that was probably the best thing to go. Go with the aloof first, because it's hard seeing these keywords. So I
But we're
don't
dead
judge it.
anyway. Okabe
Yeah.
is dead anyway to the shock blast. So I mean, we pushed enough damage to get it over with the shock blast. So Zwopu could have taken advantage of the scout keyword, decided to immediately go for the open attack and just won with it.
I mean, we say that it's lethal, right? But there's play around to that at all.
Yep.
We have the guiding touch, so there's even though we won as a game, it didn't really mean it was the most optimal line.
Yep. It won us the game in this situation, but of course in many other routes, in many other situation, we could have survived. And yeah, on that end, definitely misplay from Zlotblue, but I mean he won, so you know what they say. Good
Yeah,
for
so
him.
it's 1-1 right now, right?
Yep.
And we're gonna see this Israel Kate. And I actually, I think even though it's quite bad for Iz Kate, you can definitely squeeze in a win. There's a lot of creative lines you can do. Great Beyond is the most scariest card you can deal with, but there's weird interactions that you can kill 2 Great Beyonds on sight. So there's if it goes late, What Blue has a lot of removal tools for their scariest threat.
Yep. And I got informed that Bulat won his series 2-1. So one series of this team match is already over, and Outplayed are in advantage of one series to 0. Here, instead, Okabe versus Whatblue, we are still on 1-1 situation. So this is gonna be one of the deciding games for this overall series to get over with.
Yeah, and Ace has a pairing with a Sunblist on Ophelia, so I think that's probably the best card combination you could have for this matchup. Get an engine down and make sure that it doesn't die.
Yeah, even though some Blessed Vigor doesn't help much in keeping the Philios alive in the long run, because of course it's still gonna be damaged, it's still gonna counter damage, so you're gonna be under Flock, you're gonna be under Scorched Dart. But yeah, overall pretty good because you're at least playing around the basic removals. And for example here, potentially after the play of that Flock, we can counter it, as you mentioned it.
Yeah, we can, and
the thing with, we low-rolled the unit though. We low-rolled the Crescendum unit. Sag.
Yeah. I mean, even so, all we need is the tiniest bit of value here, and it keeps us ahead.
Yep.
Like the thing with PNZ is there's a lot of one for ones, and when you can have an engine that spits out so many cards, it really, really ruins the game plan for Swap Blue. Because you can't get Tribeam out, you have to force so many resources on this free, it just makes it so much more awkward.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And for example, now we have the line to potentially get one weapon out of Aphelios from the engine. We just play the Severum. We're gonna see. The Severum is gonna be slightly punished by the Mystic Shot, but even then, we could play the Star Shaping onto Aphelios. I mean, that's not the play I like the most, but it's doable potentially. We are instead looking for the Guiding Touch that doesn't come. Oh.
And it doesn't do anything, but it's just sad.
Yeah, I mean
I
the
actually,
outcome of that the outcome of the exchange was already written, so it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
really change anything.
What I did like was the star shaping, though. We said that maybe it wasn't that good, but that sunburst means it's healing to full, and that becomes a free 5. Then you get another +2, and
Yep.
then you can actually get the engine out for next turn. I think that was actually the correct line, Zero. It makes a lot of sense.
I mean, we have caster vision and everything, so maybe was for sure playing around something else, or maybe he just thinks that he needs the health of Star Shaping for his Nexus. Because he's already 15, opponent's deck runs a lot of burn, and he has to be very, very wary of how low he goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much play around because they only had 3 mana. Because the other option would be replaying the Feelers, which I didn't hate, right? Because we had the Pale up. So there were definitely lines here, but the Solari picked up is a very good value piece as well. It's going to really stabilize this mid game. And option not go for it. I kind of like this as well. Vi is scary, but if they have something like the Century or Thermo, you're put into a really bad position.
Yeah, Flock is not here though, so can survive. I don't know how many stacks the Thermal Beam has. I think it's at least 3, maybe 4. I'm not completely sure on that. Maybe now it's a 5. Okay. So
Yeah.
because you always have to guess if it's not in the starting end and it comes on like later, you always have to guess. It's not that obvious. But that's gonna be a very, very template because as soon as it's the 5 threshold and you can remove a V with it, that becomes a super, super strong play. And so it's gonna be.
Yeah, and we were talking about this in the. Wow, that's a very good pickup. But we're talking about
Risu.
finding tempo, and
Man,
this is definitely a tempo play.
Yeah. Risu was the outcome, and this might spell like a very, very bad situation for Kabe because now you have to block the 7-3, and then you only have one spell to get rid of a 3-2. You're taking in
Yeah.
7 damage, 8 damage with the impact, and you're going at 7. This is so bad for us.
I'm also wondering if maybe we had to, static there, just try and push as much damage and then do a cleanup. But, Baron is kind of nuts next turn. We do have Star Shaping, so don't get me wrong, but this is a lot of pressure from Swap Blue.
And we also get more potential draw with Progress Day. I think that's gonna be the outcome he goes for because Reckoning is gonna be counterproductive. I don't think we really want the value of Glorious Evolution because it costs 10 mana, but 8 mana for 3 drawn cards, that can be very, very, very big.
Not only that, Zero, but we basically know what we're going to draw, right? Because of that Archivist. So we get 2 Peacemakers, we drew 1, but we also have a Mystic. So, if we make that cheaper, it means that those tempo swings become even more favorable and gives us a higher 1 to 2 chance for win.
But look at the board instead of Cabase. I mean, he has the ways to control it. He has the ways to slow down the play from Swat Blue. What you can say is, okay, but it doesn't have Gravitum, and Gravitum would be really, really strong because it would prevent an attack from Farron. But at the moment, I think we're just fine controlling the board as it is. We could draw out the static from Swat Blue in the attempt of getting rid of both of our units, and then we can counter it. So we're not in a in a spot as bad as it could have seemed. For example, last turn, we have the
Well,
ways to counter.
yeah, so like we say that we're not in a horrible spot, but the problem is we are just getting a lot of these resources gone, right?
Yep.
Because we have the cast division, and we know the problem with this target division, it loses a lot of steam, and like us using a lot of resources just to have like no units later on is really good for us. And like this board is still very threatening for Slot Blue. They're definitely gonna look like they're gonna push for lethal next turn.
Yep. It's true that we can play the meteor shower, so we're getting rid of 2 units. We could also play the 2-1, and yeah, and we see it played. We are though taking 3 damage from an open attack, so that's kind of fine because we have the star
Yeah,
shaping. But as you
but
mentioned,
we
how
play.
do you answer Farron? You just don't.
So we're still not dead. We can play the Vi here. We only take 3 damage and we block, so we take 6 damage when we're on
We will
one.
resist.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, but as you know, and as you mentioned in deck selection, those decimates are hella scary. They're gonna kill
yeah,
us next turn.
that star shaping doesn't matter. We go up to what, like 5?
We have
Well,
to
we
draw
go
another
decimate,
one.
decimate. Yeah.
We have to draw another star shaping to survive, just to survive.
And then we just shot fast on top of it. How much healing can we get? We need like another guiding touch. Then that's 3 sharp star shapings, and then you can't even play anything.
Exactly. Ooh, no, I'm not sure if I agree. I think the best play was going for living legends. You opt for star shaping and you play the sisters.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think so. But the problem with that is you don't have enough mana. You need to find Moonsilver for that line, but it's probably the most crazy line you can think of.
Yep. I mean, it's not like there are many ways to win from now. Like there is also an Ezreal on board, so we know it's GG. Probably Okabe knows it too.
Yeah, really well played by Okabe, but sometimes SK can do that, especially against a Philo Spy. And yeah, that's 2-1. Two swap blue, and really, really good sets overall.
Mhm. Really, really good from Swat Blue. This game was played very well. Last game we saw like a couple of mistakes here and there. This game I think he played pretty cleanly overall. I mean, it was in a favorite matchup. He had the tools to like stop the stalling from Targon. Targon wants to stall the game, wants to go very very late with IHP and played his very big units. This game he pulled off like for example the Aloof Traveler plays or the Farron to stop from any single way to recover from that point. So good play from Zwot Blue, 2-1, and so it ties the series. We don't know how the last matchup of the series has gone. Let us check if there are any updates on that. I don't think so. But for now, the series for the two teams is 1-1.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, so Bullet took the other set, right? And it means, we're just kind of waiting for that last game. Not sure who's playing. Yeah, but talking about, them cleaning up the game, we're probably going to take a break, so we'll catch you later.
See you soon, guys. See you later with the next series. And here we are, and we don't know what the score is, nor the players apparently know. So how do we know if they don't either? And we are in for a Talpinator versus Rivage, the last game, the last matchup of this series between LoR FR and ANC Outplayed. We see what I think is Targon Victor Victor Vi, Victor Aphelios, one of those Victor Zoe maybe, control from the side of Talpinator. And on the other side, we see what I think is Pantheon Yumi.
Yeah, and we kind of get into the climax of this game. The Gravitum here, even though it's not doing work right now, it's just stunning for the potential next turn. Rivage knows that they have to kill this Aphelios, but even though we're killing this Aphelios, we kind of need to push for lethal. If we're not pushing for lethal, it gives the chance for Telpinator to kind of get back into the game.
Yeah, especially with that great beyond. Like, we just need 2 strikes. The problem is Aphelios is not here, and with Aphelios not here, we don't have the Gravitum every single turn to stun the dragon. Now we can get rid of the Pantheon though if there is no sharp sight. We don't know because we don't have caster vision this time around. But apparently there is no buff in the end of Rivage. That's a pretty big tell.
Not only is it a big tell, I think it's a great risk because Pantheon Yumi, their hands are very obvious, right? Because you can check those combat tricks very early on. And sadly, we didn't really get to see that game and see how 5-head Telpinator is at hand reading. But let's just assume they knew that from the start and was prepared to go for that line.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Rivage is roping? I don't know. Looks like the timer is gonna end soon. It's not something that we see quite often. Oh, okay, it was Talpinator. Oh, I just saw the timer. I just saw the timer in the games. I wasn't watching that because it was on the side, but it's pretty important. Both players have very little time to make their moves.
Yeah, they actually do. I wasn't too sure if that play was correct either. Great Beyond seems like a very hefty pickup, but they could have played it this turn. At the same time, I like pushing damage, but we kind of need the ball rolling. Hope that they don't draw this Pantheon and just call it nights out before they can.
I mean, if now we're actually able to play the Living Legends next turn, we have all the tools to control the board. Like, we are gonna have the Falling Comets, we're gonna have potentially the Supernova. So I don't think we are in real danger at the moment if you're Talpinator. I mean, we are if Rivage can bait out our removals.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a bit lucky with our Living Legends.
Yep.
I think that's like the perfect card we could have got. So it kind of solves our misplay. Maybe not misplay. I'm kind of being a bit too harsh, but maybe something that was slightly less optimal. We could have definitely gone for that closing
No, we
line.
also find the Equinox. We find the Equinox. No, I cannot believe it. Equinox on the dragon. Immediate play here.
But
you're not even thinking about it.
I don't know. I think we could think about it though.
I mean,
The thing is, yeah, but we also have Scallenge in hand, and we also have the Challenger, so we can actually push for lethal.
That's true.
Like we reacted and we saw that that broken silence card, but we do have the Scallenge, and like right now, if they don't have a combat trick, we do have lethal.
That's true. That's true. Talpinator maybe was too eager to play the Equinox as I would have done probably. Maybe it's also the timer, because the timer ticking lower and lower and lower makes you feel anxious, makes you take rash decisions. You have less and less time to think. But I think this is already a pretty big deal of damage coming in. There's gonna be blockers have to come down, and I don't know, is this lethal?
No, we're pushing 12 plus the one from Pale, so that's 13.
Okay,
so we're
it's not okay.
slightly off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're prolonging this turn, and a Pantheon top deck is kind of scary. We get Spell Shield on that with like Scout. It could maybe swing the game. So we'll have to see if a Rivage has the heart of the cards, and if that's what they draw.
you always have to believe in the art of the cards here. That's basically your only out. I think we're
Slightly
gonna.
weird. Sorry, I mean, that block is slightly weird, but it doesn't matter too much.
They could have been saving some damage, or
It
at
all
least
comes
taking the
down to
trades.
Pantheon.
No saving damage, but taking trades. That's a gem, and because we know about it, and the other card, that's gonna be the real factor.
I'm just waiting. I'm in suspense.
Yep. Either it's a Pantheon or
Oh,
it's a Kano.
one thing it isn't though. It isn't Pantheon. Really unlucky. This Hush comes out, gets this free trade here, and Rivage throws out the
GG.
GG and knows that it's game.
Game over for Revenge. Pantheon wins with the Destroyer of Worlds, the Rhino that charges onto planets, wins the game for Talpinator, and I think wins out the series for ANC Outplayed.
Yeah. Even though we saw the swap blue take it over for that one, we have to win. Two out of two. I can't count. What? How many matches do we do in a set? Three, right? Yeah, that's
Three,
it.
best of three, best of three. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we get a majority, and ANC takes it.
GG for ANC then. GG for them, and I'm proud of them because they're Italian. That's an Italian team, and those are basically all my friends. So I know them personally. I scream with them a lot, and yeah, they did a very very good job in choosing the lineups. I saw them like the last few days. They had to tack the decks to not to fit in the rules of Runeterra Academy, which is not that easy. I mean, it's also a challenge of deck building playing this kind of league. So I'm very proud of them. Anyways, good job also for LORFR. Very good showing also from them. I didn't know many of those players, so also in my tier list I put them quite low in the tiers, but they showed up pretty big.
Yeah, they definitely did well. I mean, like, just because we don't know a team doesn't mean they can't outshine. I think the beauty of this is there's a lot of underdogs, really shows the passion of what a team league is. And yeah, I think this whole EMEA league is so stacked. Even these underdogs that don't look like it are going to definitely get top three in the playoffs.
And that's going to be very very interesting to see. And I think this is everything for the first set of tonight. We're going to be back after a short break for the second series of tonight, which is going to be from different teams. We're going to cover lots of different decks, so see you soon for the second series of tonight. Hello and welcome back for the second series of today. We're gonna watch the Wobbly Wombats taking on the Ice Swallowers. And the matches we are gonna focus for the first part is Dyna versus Pyrox. And I'm very excited to see Dyna and Pyrox show off. What can you say about this kind of matchup and their kind of decks anymore?
Yeah, so Dyna, like how they usually play, brought triple aggro, and this is a very interesting list. We have Rumble, Victor, Draven. We're not on really that Riven type vibe, and we're going for almost like a Scion game plan. But instead, we run Rumble, and then we also run these hefty decimates. It's almost like a weird variation of combo and very aggressive mid range.
Yeah, and also this deck, yeah, exactly as you mentioned. And also, how do you think the buffs done to Rumble affects this deck? Because I mean, you don't play Scrap in this deck. You don't play ways to invoke any of the Yordle of the Mecha Yordles. But do you think that the buffs to Rumble somehow impacted this deck's win rate, or just it was the Victor buffs to make this possible?
I think it's only good for late game, so it helps your control matchups a tiny bit better. It's not gonna, we're not gonna see that, but we're today like it's not gonna matter that much, and we're because we're versing a triple Demacia lineup.
Yep.
So out of all of this, I think that nerf doesn't or the buff doesn't matter, but this whole deck is gonna be pretty well into that whole lineup.
And for Pyrox, we're gonna see he actually runs, as you mentioned, a triple Demacia lineup, and we have to thank you, our Runeterra ER, to give us this wonderful deck loading screen to showcase the deck that Pyrox is bringing to the tournament. And the deck, as you mentioned, is Action Seaver. Action Seaver, pretty standard list, is a very standardized and traditional mid-range deck for Europe, always being played since its release, always been very consistent, both on ladder and on tournaments. It has been quite nerfed with the nerfs to Sharpsight, and of course the nerfs to the Sergeant, which doesn't see any more play. But I think overall can be pretty consistent. Is kind of strong, especially since we play and we actually see the play Shield of Durand that can help us very much taking some valuable trades. And I think this deck is well versed, but I don't know how effective can it be against the triple aggro lineup from Dyna.
Yeah, and we're getting into the ban phase right now. Dinah's going to be sad about that. Spiders is gone, which is a bit interesting, but we see Pantheon on the side of Pyrox, so it makes sense. And this is looking pretty favored for Dinah, right? You know, the Pantheon is just such a liability when
Mhm.
Dinah decides to play aggro.
Yep. Pantheon is like the is a mid range, but is an atypic mid range in that it goes big more than it goes wide. And when we think about the Masha, we always think about like big and wide board. For example, Bannerman was that deck that was going wide, and while it was going wide, it was also buffing his units over and over again. While Pantheon is buffing the units much more, gaining very high values of attack and defense, but on the other hand, the weakness is that it has very few units that can be played, and that's why it's a very big liability to aggro.
Yeah. So the only saving grace that Pyrex kind of has is banking on this Riven. No, sorry, this Draven Rumble. Literally did a deck talk for it and can't even remember the deck. But yeah. So there's like some possibilities to try and push through or like mitigate a lot of damage in that matchup, but still very scary because the burn is absolutely insane.
Yeah, because like you would think that that deck wants to win with board and wants to win maybe with an elusive attack from Victor, and it certainly can. Also, by the way, it plays ambush, so can be pretty scary when an elusive rumble strikes your nexus. But on the other end, like we know, it runs ballistic bolts. It runs all the ways to burn you down just with pings and burns. And we're gonna
Yeah.
start off with the Pirate Aggro from the side of Dyna. I think it's only one off a copy of TF, right? Just to control the board. And on the other end, Pyrox is gonna start with Action Seaver.
Yeah, so they only run a one of right now. Very interesting new build. That's mostly for a year, and it's just a really good stall tool. Otherwise, it's good draw as well. Because like sometimes pirates runs out with draw, and then their versatility just really helps. But with this hand, Dinah is throwing away everything and just looking to go wide. That's definitely the correct thing to do.
Yeah, and it's gonna get rewarded for that because he mulligans away basically everything, gets with a Saboteur and the Mare Warden and potentially the Dreadway deck, and that's a pretty powerful end for the early turn of the games, even though it's not like the 3 1-drop end that we have seen, for example, from
North the
Ping Ping
west.
at the World Championship.
Steady now.
I
Yeah.
still remember I still remember the
So
World
you.
Championship where the Chinese one of the Eastern players, Ping Ping, qualified with a triple aggro and he went like 9-0 on the qualifiers. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, the Taiwanese player Ping Ping Ho was also a renowned Hearthstone player. But
Mhm.
the thing with aggro is it can steal a lot of games. Dinah here, looking at their hand and it's like okay. I think the Mirai is such a good pickup though. It's almost a calling to Dinah. They love this card so much. And
Oh,
wow, damage indeed. Holy moly.
the eye rolls already coming in for Dyna, like as if it didn't, as if he needed it, as if they needed it with the aggro deck in a beatdown matchup, rolling the Sand Soldier from the 1-2. Man, this is an insane attack for turn two. Potentially declaring 7 damage on the board just for the open, 8 if we count the burn.
Yeah, I mean, like pre-nerfed Doomkeeper is broken, and that's basically what we played for 2 mana, right? We played a
Yep.
1/2 that summons a Doomkeeper.
Mm-hmm. Man,
In position.
if that Doomkeeper was not wasn't nerfed at the times of Azir Aurelia, this play would have been even more insane.
Yeah, the critical mass of like Azir Aurelia with all the new cards added would have been like too much to handle. Dark Odious is probably still out there, wishing that it's still playable, and it somewhat is, but they're also wishing for all those nerfs to be reverted so it can just terrorize the format.
I think the one nerf that could be reverted from Azir Aurelia is the Aurelia spell. Like Aurelia spell costing 2 is so bad, like so bad, legit unplayable.
Horrible. But if it makes my teammate Darkodius suffer a bit to not find a one trick, yeah, let's keep it like that.
Yeah, I can agree because I don't think anyone wants to like live again the days of Azir Aurelia storming through ladder. Those were the dark times. The Shuriman Desert was vast enough.
Too vast. But now we got cars to get around, so it's not too horrible. And talking about getting around, there's not really much going on.
Mhm.
Weirdly enough, we think Dyna's a slow player here, but Pyrox has taken their time. The pass is interesting as well. I kind of like it, threatening to kill the MF. So that's really scary, but Dyna's pretty thankful for that because like they don't need to think about that potential MF here because they don't actually have it.
Yeah, if you don't have an MF, the opponent cannot kill the MF. So 5-head play for Dyna. Don't have an MF on end in end.
But
Uh,
Dyna's thinking about it, right? Dyna
mhm.
probably reads that sharp side is available, and that's why they
Yeah.
pass.
Yep. Dan is such a good player that I think almost yeah, especially since I think is they're quite proficient at this kind of matchup because if you remember like 2-3 months ago, triple or even the last seasonal triple Demacia lineup was a thing. So I think that everyone has in their minds, fresh in their minds, how to counter that kind of lineup because it was the meta since like one day ago.
Yeah, and Dyna has also a lot of experience with Survive Charm, so they kind of know how it works. We get the Make It Rain here. Pretty standard stuff, getting rid of this Petricide, kind of the scariest threat, and trying to honestly hope to top deck a lot more pressure. We can't even trade here, and we're gonna take this free damage knowing Dyna.
Yep. It's still turn 3 though. Like it seems like it has been a very long time in this game, but we are still in the very early turns of the game. there is still no sign of action from the side of Pyrox. There's still no Sivir. But from side of Dyna, we have that GP that's gonna come down next turn potentially. So we have we have our champion, we have our potential engine if we can level him up, and we are well versed also because we have the double up, which can be a very very big damage spell on the board.
Yeah, I do jump the gun, and we definitely draw the card we needed. You know, Zap is honestly amazing in this deck, right? I think, you know, when it was popularized by 4LW, people really slipped on the interaction or just like the card alone of like Zap Fervor. And it's so powerful that it makes this deck become even better than it should be.
Man, if you think about 4LW, like they started out like the aggro player, the player of that amazing Azir burn list to like I think it was mastered in one day in the Azir
Yeah,
release season, and then now they're a pseudo control player basically. I think I've seen him in ladder in some streams playing like control decks now. Yeah, they have much slowed their playstyle.
I think it's just being such a versatile player.
Mhm.
And like that's important for this league as well. You know, versatility is really important. EMEA. So even though this is the first season and it's very linear at the moment, I think after this week or two, we're going to see a lot more versatility in lineups. And you know, just transitioning from that 4LW tangent, it'll be interesting to see how that league will progress.
Yep. Especially because like in 2 weeks, in 2 to 3 weeks, we are gonna have a very big patch. We're gonna have reworks to many of the oldest champions in the game. They already announced that. So that's gonna be very, very interesting. Like I wanna see if Katarina finally becomes meta. I wanna see if Garen can be played. I wanna see if Yasuo finally can be played in a competitive deck. That's gonna be a very big shakeup in the scene.
Or it just whips. But yeah, hopefully it will
I
be.
mean, I've seen a lot of excitement around these days. It seems like they have had like some kind of reunion or meeting with the devs, and they seem pretty excited about the future. So who knows?
Yeah, and so Pyrox just plays the 5/5 here. It's pretty scary against this deck. I mean, like we haven't had that real aggressive start that we wanted. So getting this 5/5 means that we can't go as wide, and we can't really, you know, work around this Vagabond or the Vicarian Bruiser that is.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, especially because we are the beatdown, we are finding now in a very uncomfortable situation where we don't have any blockers. We cannot afford to block because if we block, we go so much down on board. We go so much down on aggressive powers for our next attacks that we cannot afford to even think about it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Dinah's now transitioning into the burn game plan because, well, I mean, you kind of have to, and we need to push 2 damage here, right? So we have to not block anything. They're going down to 11 now. They'll be on 9. Dinah's just thinking here, you know, am I mapping the damage out correctly? Which is important. You know, people don't give aggro enough credit, but mapping damage is important. And I think Dinah has done the right play if they're doing this. We just talked about not, but you know, if Dinah's doing this, they've already done the maths.
Yeah, for sure. Like we're gonna see that the last few moments to take a decision, you know, to the very last moment is always thinking, do I do this? Have I done math correctly? Maybe he's just checking again with the eye, and he decides to block, not taking 5 damage. Very very important. Just
Yeah.
because.
So,
Mhm. Go ahead.
yeah. So the only 1 damage matters here is getting them down to 9, right? But the thing is, like, we still a bit odd on that because, oh, actually, no. If we do push an extra damage, we can map out lethal with the double keg, fervor, and decimate. That's exactly lethal there. But there's a lot of like, you know, lost potential in that because if they have a removal spell, it's pretty bad. But you know, maybe that was the play. Just try and not care about their board.
Mhm. Yeah, which is also like a thing in aggro mirrors because in aggro mirrors, you most of the times, unless you have an obvious value trade, you don't block because you want to be the aggressor. You want to be the one forcing the opponent to be in the position to block. And And to do it, you need to play much more flex. Here, though, if you play Gangplank, there is this very you get countered very, 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 very hard by potentially the quicksand. So we're in a rough spot. I think we have to play the deckhand now.
Yeah, I think we have to deckhand and even try and set up a double up. You know, like this is a weird decimate. We can kill it with the deckhand. You know, we can kill the Vagabond, which is nice. And I think maybe Dyna has to just believe they don't have any combat tricks. Maybe figure out if their hand is super clunky, and if that's the case, how did they win?
They have to see the line because most of the times, even if it's not probable, but if you see only one way to win a game, that's the way you should stick to. Because even if it's 1% and everything else is zero, 1% is 1% more than 0%.
Yeah, you have to dilly dally. You can't dilly dally, so you have to go all in a specific game plan where you're this behind. And that's sadly the case. It's just so bad because we're feeding this bruiser. You know, the bruiser's pretty hungry, gonna get blinged out and be the next rapper of the century. While also trying to get a draw out with this horde. So, you know, this bruiser's coming in clutch to definitely make it a lot harder for Dyna, right? Because it adds more of a just more of a clock to the game where it shouldn't have.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Here we're just okay. We can see actually with this overlay. Thank you production, thank you production. We can see that he has the option to go overwhelm, which would be like the greediest one out of all. He has the option to go fearsome, but doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, we have only a one attack unit, but it's not that the way we're gonna push damage most likely, or the way to push the defense up to one to 5 at the moment, and that's the one that could prevent from a very, very, very big double up. So let's see what
Yeah.
he chooses. Oh, he grids.
Wow.
This is the grid factor coming in for Pyrox. Gridding out the overwhelm to get more damage off the board. And I mean, now he could, in theory, just play the Aegis and then play also
The
uh,
charges, right?
yeah, the charger. So that would be a very high damage on the board, and also you could go for an open attack. So maybe it's over. I mean, it's not over because we have fervor, but it's very close.
So it's actually not over yet. So if they
It's not
like, it
over.
looks like they're going for this Aegis plan, right? And if they get two charges out, we kill the 5-3. They attack with everything, right? We block, do the yada yada, and then they open attack again. We're still at 1.
Yep, we're still at 1. And 1 against Demacia is notably safe.
Yeah, and
Like, I mean, that's the meme. 1 is safe against Demacia.
yeah, and this is definitely, you know, like, sadly you can't play this double up. The Cyphria comes out. It's looking scary now. I'll be honest. Maybe we need to see the fervor here and hopefully top deck decimate.
Because if we don't favor now, next turn, Pyrox can just summon a charger at focus speed with the landmark, and then he can just go and attack and have everything have fearsome, and we cannot block anything, and we cannot trade anything with the fervor.
Yeah, sadly, sadly, I want to play to win, and we have to do that. So, I'm trying to figure out, but we can't piece the damage here for lethal.
Let's see if there is any potential, I don't know, misplay or anything like that from side of Pyrox. It doesn't opt to not play the charger.
Well, you can get a burst one out. I think that's what Pyrox is doing because we
I mean,
threaten
for
lethal
sure.
well straight away, and then otherwise we have Aegis.
Yeah, I mean that's for sure the play. It's too much attack damage. There are not enough blockers. Everything aside from Citra is gonna have fearsome. You can trade. I mean, you are only taking potentially 8 damage now. If you're Dyna, but you're basically giving up 2 units.
Yeah, and we have to assume they don't have a combat trick. I mean, we know that otherwise it's a bit scary, and We also know that this Aegis is going to basically skip the
You
turn
got
for
legs.
Dyna and
Use
make
them.
any possible way to find that extra burn very, very limited.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay. This is interesting. Okay, 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 okay. But anyways, I don't think we're that much safer. I mean, we can develop one more unit, which can be either Gangplank or an MF. But in the
really
opponent
a
can
discussion player.
one. Mhm.
I don't like to see Dyna lose any game at all, but definitely with this Aegis, it should be game. I mean, like we just get the 3-2 out, right? They play MF, we and we just go wide. So I think like Dyna's just figuring it out. They're trying to, have an understanding of like what I can't play around, and that's the Aegis. But their hand's been really weird. So, being the elite player Dyna is, they're also gonna realize they're gonna realize what their hand might be, and that is definitely potentially the Aegis.
Yep. And Aegis is gonna spell the end of the game for us now. We don't have enough blockers. We don't have anything to win the game with at the moment. We is Pyrox playing around? What is Pyrox playing around? Not playing the Aegis. Hmm. Is there anything? I mean, yeah, make it rain potentially.
You've concerns, do
Does
ya?
make it range still do it? I mean, it does it, right? But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
lose your whole board.
But we still win in the long run. I don't think there is any I don't think there is any countermeasure in the long run on the rally. Like even if there was a make it rain, we just attack with everything else. We trade down everything on the board and we win the next turn.
Yeah.
So GG. Pyrox taking the first game against Dyna. GG for real for Pyrox because Dyna is a very tricky opponent. We know they are one of the best players of aggro or one of the best players anyways in EU. And so very interesting to see how like the underdogs, as you mentioned, are not so much underdogs here. They can take a games against big names and be very competitive. And you're muted. You're muted anymore.
All right, my bad. My bad. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, don't
That's
worry.
horrible. Okay. Yeah. I completely agree. Even though they look like the underdogs, I think this is a team that's very well prepared. Pyrox is they played really, really well. I really like the simplicity of that turn free play to pass, and we're gonna probably see it again. We jump into the game here with Pantheon Yumi versus the matchup we talked about with the Draven Rumble.
Yeah, and we have to see now. Can Driven Rumble get wide enough early game, get big enough to be a threat to Pyrox vertical, like to see vertical buff on units strategy, and to put a stop to the Pantheon Yumi dominance.
Talking about a good hand as well. This is
Mhm.
Binder's wheelhouse is full force with triple one drop.
Yeah, we're kind of brute forcing now the game because as you mentioned, triple one drop means that we pushed 5 damage at turn one. We can play another one drop at turn two, potentially discarding, potentially even without discarding anything. I don't even know if we need the draw now or if we have anything that can be discarded. I mean, you can discard the ambush, I guess. I don't think it's that worth it in the moment. Can be worth in mid to late game though.
So yeah, so this it looks like this game is gonna already transition, into burn. And that's
Mhm.
the problem, with the Draven, right? You have really weird awkward hand states where it's kind of like your high roll is basically getting a good curve into burn because it's like half your deck is burn. Well, a third of your deck is burn, a third of your deck is like combo, ambush, might pieces, and then a third of your deck is like curve, right? And we're seeing the downfall of it right now. But that top deck with Ryder is pretty nice at this time.
I mean, the top deck pretty much solves our end because we needed a discard target. Now we get the discard target. that gets value from the discard and also draws us a card. So that's an insane top deck from Dyna, which can now, of course, Dyna is thinking: do I play the ballistic bot? Do I play next the Fallen Rider? Of course, Pyrox has the move, but cannot develop any unit. The most that he can do is potentially block when unit then single combat to prevent damage, which
Do
I
you
think
think?
is gonna be what he does.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you think Pyrox will go for that single? It feels really bad. Otherwise, you go for that sharp sight, but
Mhm. But can you take 6 more damage? That's the question. Can you take 6 damage, or even 4? Can you take 4 damage?
yeah, I honestly, I'm not sure. Uh, that single just feels so bad, and you also need him for that Pantheon, but I think maybe you have to.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I mean, you have to see the line, of course. You have to. You don't know if the opponent has much more burn that we know that Dyna has, because Dyna, of course, runs also 3 copies of Mystic Shot, 3 copies of, if I'm not mistaken, of Get Excited. So there is a lot of burn in his deck. So any damage you take, especially since you cannot heal up if you don't draw a Guiding Touch, that's gonna stick on your Nexus, and in the end, it's gonna condemn you to a very slow death by burn.
I agree. I think like even if we go for the single here, we're basically assuming that our hand is burned, right? And if we're doing that already, it means that possibility for Mystic's annoying. However, we do have the counterplay, and if that does happen, right, and we don't see the Mystic come out, that sets up Pyrox for a good turn four. You see it and I see it. If you can Pantheon into single the Victor when Dyna plays it, that does get you back in it.
Yep. And here we see we're taking 6 damage. 6 damage is a lot. We mentioned it. We go down to 9. Now it's me to say that, but it's triple get excited range. You never have triple get excited, and it's very slow to develop it, anyways. But it's pretty funny to say we are already in range of lethal by burn. Of course, now we top the guiding touch, so we have 2 more health to play around. But on the other end, Dyna is chilling. We can say that it's kind of chilling.
That is, yeah, really chilling. This is a lot more natural and game plan for Burn than it was last game. I'll tell you that. I think we have a lot of lines here. I'm actually interested if Dyna doesn't go for the Victor here. What do you think?
I mean, going for the Victor is a pretty big mana commitment, right? Because it's 4 unit mana. You have a lot of spells to be played potentially. You can play also around the opponent developing some 3 health unit to play to be removed to get excited, even if it doesn't go face. I mean, Victor, of course, it has been buffed, so now the buff that he gets is of course cost 0, so you don't have to pay for it with your spell mana anymore. But I don't know if it's the correct play. I mean, if you develop something, it's gonna be traded down anyways, potentially, if we are playing around that. So I don't know. I don't know. For sure, Diana is taking all the time that they need to think about this play.
I think these open passes are really throwing Dyna off. But we always talk about this, right? Like Dyna thinks a lot and is figuring out why you would pass in that situation. And Max is going to get rewarded here. We were talking about this Pantheon into single combat play. That pass, like maybe Dyna thought about it, but just said, "Hey, I can't really, care about that." And yeah, we'll see how this game turns out. But I forget, Pantheon's only a free two.
Yeah. Pantheon is nerfed. Okay. Pantheon is nerfed. I don't know if Pyrox realized it either. Pantheon has been nerfed. He's only 3-2. He's not gonna kill outright the Victor anymore.
Yeah, we're talking about potential lines, and I think Dyna's just smarter than us because they can actually read. I knew that they can play the Victor, and
Wait! That's a spell shield.
the Spell Shielder ambush is kind of nuts. We saw that sharp sight, right? that sharp side is one down, and with decks like this, very hefty combo decks, almost like in a similar sense of Super Ionia, you kind of have to go for it and not care for those certain cards, and Spell Shield is a saving grace, all right.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you take the damage. You never block Pantheon with barrier, unless you're dying, of course. But this kind of case, you never block the Pantheon. I think it was a pretty elemental play, nothing to really really be surprised about. And now Pyrox can decide actually to buff the Pantheon immediately, potentially. I think it's, if you want to level up fast the Pantheon, it's the play. You have also to take advantage of the barrier, because it's gonna wear off at the end of the turn. So this is the best way he thought of. Just single combat the Fallen Rider, prevent 4 more potential damage coming in next turn, and just take advantage of the barrier. Really good play here by Pyrox, taking advantage of the Pantheon coming down turn.
So I'm looking at this hand, and we have a little play around Zero to put
Yep.
a lot of damage.
I mean, it's unfair for us because you have caster vision. But yeah, the players have to think about every single out. Like there is the Bastion, so Diana has to think about, okay, do I potentially whirling that the target if I give him overwhelm or anything like that. But on the other hand, he has already a spell shield on the Pantheon, so it's basically a 3 to 2 mana commitment on the opponent that it can be taken care of, and also tough. Man,
That tough actually gets any certain range out as well. Because you hush here, right? Your single combat does not kill the victor anymore.
yep.
And now if we ambush, I think we can. We don't even care if we push 6 damage, right? Because we just have to get excited. So we can ambush here and push for lethal, even attack with a 2-1 because we have this might.
Yeah, I agree. This is we don't know if Taina sees the play. I mean, we have the caster vision, so we know that there is no possible answer on the side of Pyrox. Of course, he would be thinking about the sharp sight. Of course, if the sharp sight, you can answer it, as you mentioned, with the Ash. But on the other end, you are still losing damage because your unit can be blocked anyways. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what Dyna opts to do. Not the easiest of the decisions. And he opts to play the Draven.
That is true. I think we're playing around that sharp side. It makes a lot of sense. Try and go wide where we can. And jumping the gun is probably not a good thing to do. I think Dunn is a really well, reserved player and understands that a line like this is very good to do because you can just go wide here and it will be beneficial over time.
Mm-hmm. Also, Victor, like turn after turn, stacking more and more keywords is a pseudo Pantheon. Like Pantheon is waiting for his keywords to show up on the 5th cast on the 5th buff. While Victor is saying, okay, look at me, I'm getting bigger than you at the moment. Especially
Yeah,
Tough. Tough has been like, Tough and Spell Shield were the two best keywords that could have been rolled. Like literally the 2 best keywords.
so this is
Wait,
this.
here I think we go for it. I think we can go for it potentially.
Yeah, they just cap out a sharp side, and we're going wide as well. So we actually have lethal right now. We literally just have lethal because we do ambush or we do might, and then we have the spinning axe, and that's game.
Yeah, exactly. We go for it. We go for the ambush on the Victor. Potentially, we go for the axe, buffing 2 attack on the Victor because it's a created card. This is becoming very very scary for Pyrox, and I don't think that there is any way for him to save himself.
So I don't do math right. I don't know why, but it's not over yet. We're
I mean,
putting
it's
them on
gonna be
hard.
over on the next turn. I mean, I'm thinking it's over just because we have get excited. And there is no way to deny.
Close, it's close. But Dino also realized just going wide, getting a
Mhm.
+2 damage for this as well, and keeping the ambush. I really, really like this actually.
Okay, this is just lethal on the spot though, because you can attack with everything.
It is true.
It's
So
little because it's 6 from the ambush, then 1 from the ballistic bot, potentially 2 because the ballistic bot has augment too. So the axe is gonna spell the end of the game.
that's actually just game because we're going wide enough. Plus, yeah, exactly the +1 on this spinning axe to all of our ordnance.
I mean +1 and also +2 in theory on the axe. It's +2.
And very well played from Dino. We talk about a lot of these, all in lines of going more tall, but Dino, being the traditional aggro player, understands, hey, I don't need to go tall right now. I can keep going wide, and very, very well played.
GG Victor slamming down the Nexus. 8 damage in one strike with also the elusive given by the ambush. GG for Dyna, tying the series 1-1 against Pirates. And oh, I think Dyna, what was his ban deck? He has to play again on the Pirate aggro. Has to play again on the Pirate aggro against this Pantonium. And I think he has the edge.
They have the edge, definitely. I mean, like, we're talking about this. Pantheon is going to be the scariest thing for Pyrox because it's really hard to win against against triple aggro, and maybe that was a bad bring because they didn't scout that Dyna's a prolific and an elite player playing aggro.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very excited for the third game of the series because we have seen Dyna is in a commanding position. We saw him very, very on point today. Super clean with his plays. Even when he lost, he was following the one out that he could follow for the win. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out very good for him, but he was indeed following the one out that he could go for. So now in an advantage matchup, it's gonna be very, very interesting to see how he opts into playing. He has the Marais, which is super, super good. Sprayfin, maybe 2 of them is pretty clunky. I want to see the mulligan. Let's see.
I think it's a full sweep with the
Yep.
Mirai, and it is.
Mhm. And we have the best curve we could have opted for. Because we can actually play the Demolitionist on the 3-1 on the next turn, and then we play the Marai on the next attack turn. This is insanely strong.
We also kind of went go fish. We sent away those 2 Zaps and they came back running. But yeah, very nice hand for Dyna. Looks like we can get a bit of chip in, and then this fuel with the Zaps might be good late game. But at the same time, Pyrox has the typical turn 2 into turn 3. And I don't want to say like a lot of the times it can slow down, but depending on Dyna's hand, it can be very good if you draw like that.
Yeah, especially because the dragon can kill and chip down many of the little units on the side of Dyna. If there are not, if those units are not too many to be stopped, the dragon can feast on them and get bigger and bigger and bigger, especially with a Yumi that can come out on turn 4 here.
Right, but the problem is you can't really play Yumi. You have to go with a wave flame because if you start going
Yeah, yeah,
too
yeah.
early,
Burn.
Of course, of
put
course.
away on minute.
This is already 5 damage, by the way. This is 5 damage on turn 2. We have the guiding touch, but still pretty impressive. We're gonna be even wider now on turn 3. We get the 1 drop. Okay, this is insanely strong. This is insane.
Yeah, I think we're just full developing, right? We go, hey, like I could deal 2 damage now, but I'm probably gonna be dealing 4, and you need to have like another unit here.
Man,
Double Rain Guard as well is actually insane. Uh, Being a PNZ player, the worst thing I like to see or don't want to see is rear guard. But after seeing this, you just don't want to see rear guard at all. It's such a good card.
yep. Yep. Now potentially pushing other 3 damage on the board. We have to. Pyrox is forced to play the White Flame, but if the White Flame is blocking, either has to block a 2 attack unit, so 6 damage, or at least 3 more damage. 1 more damage is getting into your Nexus, or if it's gonna block a 3 attack unit, it's gonna be traded. So not good for him at all. But 2 guiding touches are there. Guiding touch is incredibly strong in this matchup. Can keep you alive for 1, 2 turns longer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like,
I've got your back.
I mean, this is 8 damage already, right? They doesn't matter what they really play here. The single though, the single is up very well spotted for Pyrox, so it makes us 8 damage to 5. So
Mhm.
not too scary. Uh, I think like you're still losing board though, which means if we're going wide enough, and we are, it it's looking pretty well. But Dyna's just thinking, if they have this Saga Seeker, what's the potential reason they did this barrier? Like it's honestly
You won't get
uh,
past me.
it's a beauty to see this, I think, because it's almost a lost art to think. I don't think enough. I get punished for it. So seeing something like this is truly a
Yep.
lost art, and I'm happy with this, honestly.
People is
Just
always too hasty, especially on ladder when you play. Everyone is so like is so stressed, maybe also with climbing, and everyone is so hasty, so eager to get to the next game that no one really stops and think about what they are doing. But when you see Dyna, yeah, when you find them in ladder, it can be like, it's not the best thing in the world. It can be
No
like
closer.
pretty stressful to play against them, or even if you don't know their playstyle can feel disrespectful even if they're not meaning it at all. But yeah, when you're in tournament and you see them play, it's a beauty to see.
it is. It honestly is a lost art. I don't know why, but I always get stressed just when the timer goes down because I feel like my opponent's breathing on my back.
Yep.
Like person just like just disrespecting them, bro. And it happens, but like it's it's our time to use the timer, and definitely it comes down to making better games, and that's what we need in esports. Having
And
very
both
competitive.
players, the interesting thing is that both players are making full use over their time. Like usually when you see Dyna playing in a tournament is very lower in timer, like compared to the opponent. But here we see the timer is basically the same from both players. So everyone is thinking what they are doing. Everyone is using their time to full use, and that's very interesting.
It is. So we play down the zap here. Pretty good because we're almost transitioning into this burn game plan, and that becomes this really good mid game card to kind of emphasize that while not only gaining the spells, but illusions are kind of like weird burn.
Hmm. Yep, especially since there is no sharp sight. And I mean, when we are thinking about Pantheon, like the nerf to sharp sight has not been the defining thing. But maybe now some Pantheon lists are gonna run it in 2 copies or even one, because it was a pretty big nerf on the offensive side. And now in mirrors, you cannot go into the chains of sharp set into sharp set into sharp set. So it's gonna be very interesting to see going down the road, going down the road into this in this league,
I'm
like the
never
next few
finished.
weeks, if there is gonna be changes in the play rate of sharp set. But for now, 3 copies in the Pirates deck, but no copies drawn.
Right. I think it's such a good utility card that you
Mhm.
kind of need in a Pantheon. You can run stuff like Chain Vest, it's not horrible, but you also need it in Scouts. That's like the thing, right? You just need ways to keep your units alive, and
Mhm.
Darkside is still good at that. So I understand why people are still playing it as a free off.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we are not commenting too much what's happening on the game, because basically the players are just passing back and forth. Pyrox is buffing his units, buffing his dragons, while Dyna has not found Gangplank yet, has not found a map, has not found any of his champions, but is setting up potentially a very big attack now, and an even bigger double up next turn.
Just thinking about it as much as they can. I mean, like, we're going wide.
Surprise.
Uh, there's a few other players there, so it makes sense. But
Mhm.
this is definitely scary. I mean, like, how much damage are we pushing here? At least 7 to the naked eye,
Yeah,
assuming they don't have single.
I mean, if we block 2 cards, yeah, this is 7 plus 1. This is at least, yeah, this is at least 7. We're blocking 2 attack units. We are gonna take trades. Okay, but if we block like that, now we are going down actually to the make it train. Make it train here is super strong potentially.
It's honestly beautiful. I mean, like, we're still pushing as much damage as we can, and it makes them basically, lose these white flames. These white flames are like Pyrex' saving grace to get back into this game, try and get a Zenith out. But, if we see this make it rain, it's going to be very detrimental because we both know that they can't even afford to play a combat trick if they had one. But I mean, like, this train fist is
They're
good,
gonna
but
save
like,
one. Yeah, they're gonna save one, but not gonna save the other.
and like the thing is, like that one mana could be really important as well. I mean, like we can't work it out, but having very tight plays to the point where you have to double guiding touch means that you don't really want to be spending this one mana.
Yeah, you really don't, but you are gonna be forced to, because if you don't, you have no board and no unit to attach the Yumi. Like, Yumi is so dependent on the other units that this deck weakness is perfect for like finding also weakness to the single champion, because this deck runs like few units and needs to buff them very like needs to buff them greatly. But if you run few units and the opponents can counter you, like you're gonna find yourself without any way to push damage.
Yeah, we're just literally forking both the opposition.
Oh, okay.
So this decimate is literally just going to be awful here. But Pyrox is loving the healing. They're on free guiding touch, and they're going to do a bit of cycling after that as well.
Yeah, it's true. You can cycle, but can you cycle against elusives?
No, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, these spray fins basically make the guiding touches not really doing much unless they drew the sharp side, and it's possible. I mean, like drawing free cards with a hand like this. So I mean, Pyrox is actually in a decent position if they can find these specific cards off the cycling.
Yeah, but what we have also to say is that Dyna is gonna most likely draw a fervor off the spray fin. So we have 3 more damage to count in now.
Hopefully, I think so.
Oh, make it rain.
Oh,
Okay, not fervor.
giving Pyrox a chance here.
Mm-hmm. That's the chance he needs, probably. And yes, though, he can play. I think you have to play Getting Touch now, because if you find units, you have to play them now. You cannot afford to play them at slow speed. We find Pantheon, which is not the. I mean, it's great if we find like elusive or life steal. So we will have that.
I mean, it's dependent on what the Pantheon is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Pantheon's on like 4, then it's really, really good. Because that means that they have a chance to actually swing this game out. Otherwise, like, you know, there's still good lines to find the draw as well. We're just waiting here, hoping, like, we don't need to force anything on Dino's side, but Pyrox really needs to find maybe a single to go with this Pantheon. And if they do, it's honestly, it's getting really close.
Fear and stand as one.
Yeah. Pantheon, I think it's not even on 3 though, and I think we have to play the buff spell now, because I don't remember, it has not been used this round, and we have to put Pantheon on 4 because we need Pantheon leveled up next turn. Yeah, and we are gonna see that immediately played. Jam.
Is that
4
for?
of 5.
It seems like the best draw here.
Mm-hmm. And when I see Pantheon, especially if we saw a silent top deck, I'm always afraid that people is gonna like abuse the bug with the double keywords. I hope it doesn't happen in a tournament though.
Right, I forgot that was even existent. There might be some rules against that, but
I hope so. I hope so, because I always like when I face Pantheon on ladder, I'm always no, please don't, because it would feel so bad, because basically I'm the one that found, like, I'm the one that cement like the reproduced the bug and did everything like that. So when I find Pantheon players, I'm always, please don't, please, you don't have read my thread on Twitter, please.
So Right now, Pyrox has basically the perfect amount of mana. You know, Pyrox is also like understanding what they have to do here, but I think the only line is looking for this elusive lifesteal, right? I think if we find that, we're back into the game. Because like right now, Dyna's threatening lethal here.
Yeah, this is a declaration of lethal, and I don't see many ways to counter it, especially since we have the decimate backup. So either Pantheon rolls elusive and lifesteal, or the game is dire for Pyrox.
Yeah, it all comes down to this. Pyrox is thinking about their very last line. Wow, passes here. I was not expecting that. Maybe keeping up single. Honestly, Pyrox is just a better player than me and is going for even the riskier line that might be a backup because, you know, we talk about this castle vision and this is a best way to play around further. So I really like this. We need to go for that.
We have to. Man, this is. Ooh. This
Really
can spell
well.
the end of the game in an instant.
Yeah, it comes down to this, but even thinking about that, right? Like he understands or they understand how to play around any potential card here, not getting, you know, not losing sight of any potential win, and we're gonna see the beauty of it. See if Pantheon can be the Mantheon and get him back into the game.
We will see. We will see. This is the ice pressure, the moment where everything comes down to this. Everything comes down to this single Pantheon roll. Is this gonna be it, or are we gonna crown Dyna the champion of this match and Wombat the winners of the side of the bracket?
This side at least, but
Yep.
it's coming.
Remember this day.
Coming to Earth. What do we get?
Getting keywords.
Stand up.
We do see no life steal, but no life steal, no elusive for Pantheon. So we have to
And
opt
then
now.
it is game.
And it
Very
is
close.
game indeed. Perfect
Fight the
lethal
fight.
for Dyna with a decimate backup, with another backup, with a double up backup. We win the game. GG Dyna 2-1, winning
Remember
against
this.
Pyrox.
But honestly, outstanding. We were talking about how slow they were playing, but it honestly gave us the best content of the most competitive nature you could find in it.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like when on ladder, like you can say like Dyna, you don't want to play against them. You don't want to even found them in ladder. You wait until they are in game before queuing up. In tournament, you cannot escape them. You cannot survive them. Dyna wins, thinking about every single out that can possibly go wrong.
I think like it just shows, you think for a bit more, even though thinking is very overrated. It definitely becomes a winning site and potentially 1-0 in this set.
Exactly, exactly. And okay, so I think we are done with this set. I think we're done with this series. I'm waiting for confirmation of if on how the other match of the day went. I think Aaron won 2-0 against I think Spikes. So Wombats are 1-1 in the series because Dyna just won, and we have to see if Ghoster Driver is gonna take home the win. But I think for now it's everything, and we're gonna go in a short break. Bye.
Do you?